Good day, and thank you for joining us. In conversation today, we're joined by two phenomenal women, Professor Rushela Nolundisonga, Vice-Chancellor at Walter Sisulu University, and the newly appointed Chancellor, Ms. Nonkululeko Gobodo. Ladies, good day, and thank you so much for joining us. Madam Chancellor, maybe I should start with you and congratulate you on your latest appointment as Chancellor at Walter Sisulu University. Now, you were once a student and lecturer at WSU. What's the 360 experience been like coming back as Chancellor?
Yeah, they brought me all the way home. It's like a, full circle. I mean, I was walking along these passages, and when I came yesterday, I was like, I used to walk around here as a student. I mean, you see the students. And then after graduation, it was a big thing when I was appointed a junior lecturer. A head of department was going on sabbatical. That was a big step. I remember some of my fellow students who were still students didn't greet me because I was now a lecturer. But I never dreamt that I would come back as Chancellor. It took a while to even absorb this whole role. But it's exciting because it just shows that nothing is impossible, and that I've been a role model for many. Now this is like another level that you can be a student and then come back as a Chancellor.
Professor Songa, how does having someone like Chancellor Gobodo align with the vision and mission of Walter Sisulu University?
You see, per our vision, it's not just us doing what we need to do internally. It's also ensuring that the people outside the outside world is aware of what is it that we're trying to do, and wherever possible, able to help us to achieve our aspirations. Now, with her on board, it means that we have a better chance of having access to those spaces that we wouldn't otherwise have access to. And of particular importance is not only about the vision, it's about the programs that we are offering. And through her, we might be able as well to have stakeholders interested in the work that we are doing.
What impactful collaborations do you see coming out of this new forged relationship between the Chancellor and Walter Sisulu University?
The first one, Chancellor, is her helping us get the money that we want to enable us to clear student debt. But also, it's about, we have a plan of establishing boards, academic boards. And academic boards are people who are academics, and those in industry and private companies will be sitting. And we're hoping that one of the things that she will help us with is to have access to those CEOs, not only CEOs, but people in the private industry who will become part of those boards. Two things will happen. One, will ensure that our programs are relevant, but also through them, our students will have access to the job market.
Madam Chancellor, academic qualifications can open doors to opportunities for graduates. What qualities or characteristics propelled South Africa's first Black female chartered accountant to become one of the best success stories in corporate South Africa?
I suppose being resilient, because I grew up, shy, quiet. My mother worried about me. But, from my first job, that's where I found my real self and realized that I was not just quiet, but I was smart and strong. And that sense of finding yourself really just released the potential within me. And I saw myself achieving things that I never even dreamt that I would achieve. But the most important quality, I think, is the entrepreneurial spirit. Because when you're an entrepreneur, it's very fearful to walk into the unknown. creating something new. And most people shy away because of that fear. But I was always just moving forward. And it didn't mean that I didn't have the fear, but I just faced those challenges. And I never allowed fear to distract me. The other most important thing is to be true to yourself. Because when you walk into spaces, you need to bring your whole self. And that's what people really are looking for. And I believe that when we bring our true selves, we're able to really impact any environment that we walk into.
Now, I know you touched briefly on this, but could you please elaborate further on how an accomplished Black female leader in the early 90s and 2000s managed to keep a healthy balance between the feminist agenda and leadership in a racist, patriarchal, and GBV-rife South Africa?
Yeah, I suppose, we're the pioneers walking into spaces where there were no women and there were no Black people in most cases. And when you walk into such a space where you can't even recognize someone looking like you, you sort of have to invent everything. You're creating opinions about women, about Black people. I was always conscious of showing people who we truly are as women and as Black people. And I learned very early, at a young age, to deal with, there's so much bullying in corporate South Africa. White people were really bullying us, especially during apartheid South Africa. I just learned to stand up to that kind of treatment because I was worthy of this position that I was walking into. The fact that, in your opinion, I didn't belong didn't change how I saw myself. And I always made sure that I demonstrate very quickly that I know who I am. And I saw that the respect would really just come. So it's still a long fight. It's still a long fight because it's not over yet.
VC, Walter Sisulu University is transitioning in different areas, one of them being their rationalization and consolidation. Was the appointment of the Chancellor strategic and deliberate, considering her vast experience in the area of change management and leadership?
I must say that when I heard that there was an intention for her to be the Chancellor, I knew about Gobodo, but I really didn't know her at all. So the first thing that I did, which is something that I don't do as a principal, is to Google her, because I had to understand who she was. And I must say that I liked what I saw, especially what resonated with me is issues of women and equality. And I felt that, no, this is the person that I would work with. Now, change management also was mentioned in her CV. And I'm hoping that as we go through this change that is already underway, there are lessons that we can learn from her in terms of how we handle change, because change has its own anxieties. We have seen that happening. And even though now people are embracing the change, it doesn't mean that they're not anxious in terms of what will happen to them. Therefore, I think that in that way it is strategic, because then she will help us to locate our colleagues and also help us to move the change agenda ahead.
Madam Chancellor, let's now talk corporate governance. Where do you think are the areas of oversight or blind spots in Black entrepreneurs and institutions in terms of governance?
Governance has really become a big thing. And I'm an accountant. Please don't ask me about where we are. Because I think we underestimate the importance of governance. The whole institution stands on those pillars. And once we start to neglect governance, in no time, structures will begin to fall apart. So I believe that we need to go back to the drawing board, first things first, and put governance as top of the agenda, because we cannot build any institution outside that. And we live in a, new country, growing country. The need is so big. How we manage our finances is going to be critical. Because how are we going to build any nation without finances? And for me, the whole issue of corruption and how it is now permeating these institutions of higher learning is really troubling for me, because their job is so important. They are producing future leaders, and we want them to produce the kind of leader who will lead South Africa where it is today. We want to save our country, And for me, these future leaders, that we must teach ethical leadership too, and teach servant leadership. I was actually excited when the VC was talking today that it is the center of her leadership, because we need to put country and people first. And so those leaders that are going to be produced in these institutions need to come from that place. And so, what I want to say is that governance, financial management, proper leadership, we need leadership in this country. And they are producing the leaders.
What role do you think organizational structure and transformation would play at Walter Sisulu University?
Culture is everything. It is everything. And unfortunately, we underestimate culture. We think, let's develop the strategy. And strategy is going to build the institution and propel the vision forward. We don't understand that it is the culture actually that creates the institution itself. And so I would really like to see here at WSU a situation where we see how important culture is. And for me, it's leaders who create the culture. You can have nice values, they can be on billboards, but if the leaders don't live the values, then everybody knows that they are not true and they are not real. But when leaders display the values, then you start to create the kind of culture that you want. So culture builds. Culture is everything.
Finally, Madam Chancellor, as a business leader with vast experience in corporate, what advice do you think would assist WSU in areas of corporate friend-raising as well as fundraising?
You've got to do your job, You establish this institution to do your job. How you do your job. How you build this corporate identity. People will respect you if you do what you say you are going to do. And it becomes very easy to open those doors when you don't have to explain. When your reputation goes ahead of you and opens the doors. But when you don't take care of your reputation, unfortunately, who's going to open those doors? Who's going to want to associate with you? Who's going to want to give you money? Especially in the situation where we have in South Africa. I think people would want to invest in an institution that is committed to its mission and its vision.
Ladies, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Thank you. Madam Chancellor, once again, congratulations on your appointment and all the best in your new role. We look forward to more interactions with you in the future. Thank you.